talked about nearly every god in the series now, so if you have any more ideas or any lore tidbits you want to see, let me know in the comments, and if I liked your comment enough, it could be in a video. Love you all. Thanks. The old gods in the Fear and Hunger universe have always existed, since the dawn of time. Probably before the dawn of time. They usually represent the forces of nature, and some people say that even the gods themselves are just forces of nature themselves, and they're just metaphors. However, the two most primal ideals deserve perhaps the most powerful gods. Those concepts are creation and destruction. Destruction is represented by the old god Gro-Goroth, which I already made a video on, and you can see that one right here. But to have destruction, you first must have creation, which brings us to the subject of this video, the old god of creation, Sylvian. Before the creation of man, Sylvian asked another god, who is probably an old god, but we don't know for sure, named Vitruvia, to make a design for mortals that are made in Sylvian herself's image. Vitruvia made an initial design, and although Vitruvia herself was not proud of her own work, Sylvian loved it, flaws and all. Sylvian then took that design and made it a reality. She gave birth to mankind. This also gave her counterpart and husband, Gro-Goroth, the god of destruction, the ability to give the end of life, making Gro-Goroth not only the god of destruction now, but also the god of death, blood, and human sacrifices. Not only was humanity created by Sylvian, but another old god was also created by Sylvian. As the child of Sylvian and Gro-Goroth, being the child of creation and destruction, it was fitting for their child to be the god of the place where creation and destruction exist in tandem, nature. This god was originally named Venush, but later was named Venushka. But this video isn't a video on Venushka. Sylvian loved her creation of mankind so much that no mortal could ever love anything as much as she loves mankind. Even with all of humanity's flaws, Sylvian loves mankind just the way it is. However, a theory states that Vitruvia, the one who originally designed humans in Sylvian's image, and fixed the initial flaws she saw in humanity, and created the perfect human, Alll-Merr, which you can see this video on him right here. But however, Sylvian still loves humanity so much that she wants them to love each other in her name, usually by showing love to each other or to themselves. Sex and masturbation are ways to show the love that Sylvian wants. So much so that a lot of worshippers of Sylvian don bunny masks and hold orgies in her name. Sylvian, however, isn't entirely pleased with this, as no matter how much humans seem to love each other and themselves, it is impossible to feel the same amount of love that Sylvian has for humanity. A more significant way to show love to Sylvian is to make love on one of her ritual circles. Doing so will create a marriage of flesh. It will make the participants literally become a mass of writhing flesh together until they literally become one person. Like a Dragon Ball fusion dance, but weirder and stronger. Now, becoming a marriage with two people usually doesn't have any adverse effects, other than slightly strange looks. However, not only can two people become a marriage, seemingly infinite people could theoretically become a marriage. With three, reproductive organs usually no longer work, however. There is still some discernible human features, however, on a marriage with three people. Once again, it is a lot stronger, but more deformed. The more and more people who make love on the circle at once, the more and more disfigured and unnatural the marriage of flesh becomes. In Fear and Hunger 1, you yourself can become a marriage of 2 or 3 people, provided you have a positive relation to the old god. However, once you become a marriage of 3 people, you can no longer use small weapons or armor. Despite you being only able to become a marriage of 2 or 3 people, there are at least 2 occasions of potentially upwards of 20 or 30 people participating in one. In Fear and Hunger 1, the human Hydra is in the earlier parts of the dungeon. It will ask for a human sacrifice for meat, providing the meat doesn't give you anything, but neither does refusing. This Hydra is made up of most of the guards in the dungeon. These guards tried to save themselves by becoming a marriage. It obviously didn't work, and I'm not 100% sure what the thought process here was, but whatever. In Fear and Hunger 2, in Ending A, you will come up on a very hard boss known as the Platoon. A marriage of what I assume is a bunch of Bremen soldiers and maybe a tank? However, I have no idea how these people had sex with a tank, and if they didn't, why does their marriage have a giant fucking tank barrel on it? Not only that, it literally has a one-shot move you can't block. In fact, I'm pretty sure not any other enemy in the series does over 200 damage in a turn, provided you fail the coin toss. Not only that, however, if you pass the coin toss, the platoon will still do 50 damage. However, you can still bypass this boss entirely if you run really fast and catch up to its handler, who is a Sylvian trooper of the Bremen army, who let's be honest, she's wearing a BDSM latex bunny suit, which kind of fits the whole, sex theme Sylvian has going on. If you catch up to her and kill a Tandler, she will not be able to command the platoon, and the platoon will immediately die. However, if you do fight them both, she will command the platoon and fire on you, as well as whip you with a flogger. There are other marriages in the game, however, like a moonless guard, which means yes, this guard had sex with a dog, as well as a yellow lizard mage, which is a lizard person who had sex with a yellow mage, which, as I said in an earlier video, based. Magic gifted by affinity with Sylvian include healing magic as well as flower magic, which is kind of like mind control, as well as, creating life. And to not try and get this video age restricted, you can love a dead person and you can create a demon child out of it. At some point in history, Sylvian, who was dissatisfied with how little humanity reciprocated her love, made everyone have a giant orgy, but we don't really know a whole lot about that. But people went crazy, lots of orgies, and they all became lost in the sauce, as they say. There are a lot of cults dedicated to Sylvian, which usually just include people having orgies in her name, but generally, they're harmless. Even in the 20th century, Dan, a possible protagonist of Fear and Hunger 2, was born into a family who was in one of these cults. However, they used all their time for sex and didn't pay attention to Dan at all. So it is possible that these cults make people only think about orgies in Sylvian, neglecting responsibilities. There are less grotesque versions of these cults, however, and those are the churches of healing that use Sylvian magic. However, it's not only cults and churches. Brothels usually are also dedicated to Sylvian, as seen from Brehevil, the main city of the second game, having a whole district dedicated to Sylvian, which it's basically just a red light district. Eventually, however, humanity decided that they wanted to be in charge of their own destinies, and tried to become gods themselves, taking over Mahabra. Sylvian, along with the other old gods, then left this world. However, in Fear and Hunger 1, once one ascends, they can see the other side, where the old gods still hold power. It is a seemingly vast wasteland with a green hue, which the hue itself is a topic for another video, but here you can find traces of Sylvian and challenge it to a battle. Win or lose, the traces of Sylvian will descend back into the green hue. In Fear and Hunger 2, Sylvian doesn't make as much of an appearance. However, like I said earlier, the platoon is still here, and although this is cut content and non-canon, Father Hugo, the headmaster of the orphanage, used to be a marriage with an orphan. Meaning, he's not just a bad guy, but he is canonically one of the worst guys, I guess. But this is non-canon, but it's worth mentioning. Either way, I hope we get to see more Sylvian, as she seems to be one of the nicest and most benevolent old gods, if not the only one. But either way, hopefully we will soon see more of her in the upcoming update. I will stream that update when it comes out, but until then, I love you all, and I'll see you next time.